why you're struggling implementing your operating system, what is an operating system. Listen, guys, stick with me here today. I'm going to break it all down for you. Listen, if you find value in the messaging here today and the video that's created today, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. A lot of you have been growing and scaling businesses, and one of the things that a lot of people do on their way to $10 million is you've had to read, you've had to go to some workshops, you've had to go to some events. Hopefully you're maybe considering a mastermind at this point. But here's one of the critical things in growing and scaling to over $100 million in multiple companies that I learned. And I can tell you, I've sat back and studied and looked at the financial numbers for decades and seen exactly and watched dozens and dozens and hundreds of businesses go through the same exact thing. They go in to implement. If you know what an operating system is, you go to implement it and you struggle. And we're going to break it all down. So we're going to take it from the top. We're going to start at the beginning. And at the bottom, when we finish up, I'm going to share with you the nuances and exactly what you can do to be more effective at implementing your operating system. There's some key critical ingredients in there. Some of you read Traction, some of you haven't. Before I go in here and rip this apart and process it and share with you, I want you to understand something. Big fan of Traction. I think it's a great book. It's a great framework. Everybody should read it. However, there's reasons why you're struggling it, and there's reasons and things that are not answered in Traction. And a lot of you that are paying attention, you know exactly what I'm talking to you about. Stick with me to the end here, and I'm going to give you the secrets. These are pro tips. The only way you learn them is through experience. So stick with me. Hey guys, what gets measured gets scaled. Listen, everybody knows one of the most common problems for an entrepreneur. They just don't know their numbers. So what I did is I created a CEO dashboard to help you out on your journey. Go ahead and click the link below and it's yours, absolutely free. Now let's get back to the video. So an operating system, here we are. What are the ingredients that make up an operating system? We have leadership, and with leadership, comes communication. How are we communicating throughout the organization? As leaders, what messaging is being communicated? What's our primary communication channel, etc. Then you go ahead and data, right? As you begin to grow and scale, you have experiences, you have data, you have historical data that's happened in your company. How are you using the data to make better decisions for the future? So as you grow and scale, this is one of the informations. You're going to have data incorporated into your daily, weekly, monthly meetings, and you're going to be using that data to make better decisions, whether it's to grow, scale, hire, fire, forecast talent, etc. Then you're also going to have financial management. You're going to start talking about KPIs. Now here's a really big one. Most KPIs are, once again, one-sided and narrow-sided. And we're going to get into this in a later video, but they don't take into consideration communicating how to attract and develop and retain top talent. They don't set that messaging through there, or a lot of people see it through a lens of which they're industry specific. You're going to want to have that spread out between your sales, your marketing, etc. It's not going to be one-dimensional, it's fully dimensional. So then you're also going to have sales. What's your sales playbook? What's your best practice? Your inbound, outbound phone-up scripts. How do you handle leads? What are your automations? What's your follow-up cadence, etc. Then you're going to have your marketing. So marketing. What marketing KPIs are you communicating, right? Everybody knows about ROAS. Everybody knows about ad spend. But how detailed can you go in there to tie that in to feed the whole ecosystem within the operating system? And then you have your processes and systems, right? You're going to have processes and systems, right? What is that? That's going to go into your operating system. Then you're going to have your culture. Your culture, your people, your mission, vision, values. Okay, that's all going to be part of it, right? And then you're going to talk about how does that messaging speak to what you want to communicate and bring into the organization. How does that messaging speak to your core values, like when you're looking to attract, retain, or develop, and or meet, and or create organizational clarity when you're communicating within the organization, right? It's vitally clear. Then also now you have the key ingredient, right, is we talked about leadership. Right? Let's go back there. So everything rises and falls on the leaders. We've heard it. It sounds cute. It's good. But it's true. We see things through the world that we see them, right? And usually what we do as a leader in the organization, we cascade that down throughout the organization. And what we want to do is we want to be able to raise it, right? So if you remember when we started this video, these are just the things that go into an operating system. I look at an operating system with the nuts and bolts, and then there's a business system, a complete way to do it. And then obviously when you get experience, that's when you get into having a coach. All the times people are like, hey, what's a coach? Well, coach is touch and feel. A coach is going to be able to take this information. What happens to most people, and almost all people that are not experienced, the first timers, the people who've done this before, it's a different ballgame. But the first timers, it's always the same thing. You go in, you read the book, you got the operating system, you follow the directions. But then you hit some challenges along the way. You don't know how long or when to do something, right? Because there's always critical points where other things are different. If you're looking to track down your first $2-3 million, obviously your leadership, you're not worried about the leadership team as much. You want to have the foundation laid so you don't have to do additional work, but however, that's not a priority. So that's where you get into these nuances. But here's the big things. Some of the big takeaways, and I was having a conversation the other day, and I wanted to follow up and better communicate this, right? I wanted to create this video. And this is a segue to going to be to more videos. I'm going to shoot a few more videos after this and kind of break it down, but depending on where everybody's interested in it at. But I wanted to make sure that I communicated this because I see a lot of young, ambitious entrepreneurs out there. And what they're doing is they're doing everything. Like they're like, I got my SOPs, I got my processes, my systems, I'm training, I'm developing, but I got my KPIs. But are you looking at the right KPIs? Are you coaching and training on the right things? Are you attracting the right people? You know, and most everybody has the same problems. The problems are always the same, right? We're deficient in sales because we don't have a sales culture or we don't have a strong sales playbook. We're deficient in marketing because we don't have a strong, clear KPIs and we haven't executed on the marketing, right? We're having struggle in recruiting and developing top talent. These are all challenges that every entrepreneur deals with. You either deal with them at one point or you deal with them at a later. It doesn't really matter how it is, but what is important is that you understand it from a 30,000-foot view so that you can go in and change anything you need to at any time without it being an emotional decision. But here's one of the big ones, attracting top talent, okay? Attracting top talents, everybody's like, well, why can't I attract top talent? Well, first and foremost, I would tell you this. I almost certainly guarantee you at one point in time or another, you had top talent at your door. You did. And what happened was either yourself or the culture in the company didn't have the leadership that was required to hold them in there. That's where your values come in, right? And that's kind of your lens. If you're going in there and you're working with your values, that's it. But when you go in and you talk about that messaging, right, you have to make sure when you advertise to bring people into the company, you're bringing them in that way, right? You're speaking to this message. Whatever your values are, you need to talk about them. As a leader with leadership, you have to speak about the values often, all the time, and then live them. Now, here's the other thing where people don't talk about, is the technology stack. At what point in time do I use what technology? Is it just burdensome? Did I create an extra process in the step? Like, am I just doing it for the sake of I like technology? The average company that has $10 million in revenue has 13 different technologies on the books that they're paying for. But in fact, they're only using 9 of them. So think about that for a second. Look at all the different technology that's in there. So next time you look at a piece of new technology, especially with all the buzzwords with AI going around, I want you to look at your existing technology, and I want you to do what my favorite thing is, addition through subtraction. What can you eliminate? What burden did you put on your team that in return offered no reward? Remember, if we add a piece of technology, when we add it, what is the goal? Is the goal to sell more? Is the goal to be more profitable? Is the goal to help the team be more productive? And this is where KPIs come in. Because most people that are in business, especially the early entrepreneurs and even seasoned entrepreneurs, especially sometimes when you make a lot of money, it becomes very easy to just keep throwing money at stuff. But it doesn't create a situation where you optimize the business, and it doesn't create a business to where you're actually utilizing and implementing this at the same time. So you go in here, look at your technology stack. And then the other thing is the task worker, right? We talk about this. So one of the big things that happened to me is I was, over a decade ago when I was implementing my first, and it was traction. That was the first one that I went in, my first exposure to an operating system. And I was like, oh man, this is great. We're having the meetings and we're doing this. But you got to remember, how are your meetings going? That'd be my first thing. For those of you that did traction, how are your meetings going? Then my first question would be you feel good. Are you making any more money? See, that's the question. Are you making any more money? Right? And then you go in and you're like, we live our values, we die our values, we never live our values for nowhere. Our values never change, our values never waver. Okay, good. Are you making more money? Are you in the perpetual slide right now that you're going to go in and come over on the other side? Right? See, one of the things we have to look at in the modern world is whether it's offshore workers, whether it's remote workers, whether it's task workers. There's a different dynamic out there. Now, make no mistake about it. Anyone in a leadership role, 100%, should be 100% aligned with the core values of a company. However, though, Whether you're looking at, if you're hiring blue collar workers or remote workers, how are you going to go in there? We know right away the riddle's broken. We know it's broken because it goes in there. So the thing is you can stay in these things too long, and you ultimately do a disservice both to your business and to the community and the people that you serve. This is where the hang up in the operating system gets, right? The other hang up in the operating system is, let's think about it for a second. When I implement an operating system, I don't want to be a good operator. I want to be a good business owner. And a good operator implements an operating system effectively so that their team, it's easier on their team can communicate, and ultimately their team can produce at a higher level. Sales go up. Employee morale goes up. You're hitting records. Profits go up. So if you're implementing an operating system right now and your profits aren't going up and your top line revenue isn't there, that's where you need to get a hold of somebody that's done it before. You need a coach. You need somebody before that can do that touch and go for you to show you what it is. Because if you're at $3 million in sales and you're going to go in and go gung-ho on building out an executive team, you just gave up all your profits. Your company's not to the point in time where it needs an executive team yet. Now, if you're at 10 million, that's a different story. See, so that's why it's critically important to know where you're at. So either which way, here's the thing, guys. I hope that brings it all together. That gives you an idea of what an operating system is. It also gives you an idea to know that as you're going out and you're studying and you're reading the books for your first-time entrepreneurs, or for even some of you that are struggling, you know that if it gets harder than what it needs to be, remember something. Things only take a long time when they're done wrong. If you're doing them right, you can move really fast. You can grow and scale without disruption. Okay? You can continue. A business becomes a vehicle for generating wealth for you and for your family and for the courageous entrepreneurs that were willing to risk their life, their family nest egg, and their time and all the sacrifices to go out there and be able to do it. So remember, it doesn't have to be that hard. So listen, if you found value in the video today, please subscribe. If anybody wants to go further with me, you need any additional help, coaching, reach out to my team, and I'll be happy to help you. And I look forward to seeing you next time.